Okay, sound check 1 2, sound check. Everybody hear me all right? I still cannot get over this head cold. I don't know what in the heck is going on here, but it is driving me crazy. Anyway. If somebody will just type in the channel if you hear me okay. Loud and clear, please. Get my pointer focus going here so you guys can see where I'm pointing to. Let me get this up and going here. Oh, gosh. I may have to reboot this computer tonight. Let's see. She's acted weird. Oh. God, dog it. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get this dang on. Oh my gosh, Windows is just acting stupid tonight. Can you guys hear me all right? It's almost like somebody's hacking my computer. What a bunch of shit. Do I need to refresh this? Here. All right, can everybody hear me all right? All right, thank you very much. That's all I needed to hear. Okay. Let's just go over to, let's look at Bitcoin real quick. And so last night, and here's kind of been my thinking of this, guys, is that if we scroll in and look on it, right, here we go. All right, so we had the dip down below the 200 and the 233-day moving averages right in here. And then we rebounded quickly off those. So my thinking was that looking at the Bollinger Bands, there was no way price was going to sustain outside, after that huge move. It just wasn't, right? So it had to come back and pull inside. And my thinking on this whole thing was that I wanted to see the Bollinger Bands start to curl back in, right? The lower Bollinger Band coming up, and then the upper Bollinger Band either flattening or coming down slightly, okay? And when I was looking at this area, I was thinking, this is the perfect spot right here where the 233-day moving average is to be able to, add to your position or take up a new position. Your risk to the downside is, like I said in the channel, it's 8,000, right? That's where the 78.6 is. So if you're wanting to get in now and you wanted to put a stop loss in, say around 8,400, or, if you're not willing to risk that much, like 300 or 400 pips, then, place your stop just below that, right? Because there's no fib cluster. There's no other fib that lines up with that, right? So if you drop this area, you're more than likely coming down to the 78.6, right? So that's why I was pointing that out. I was also pointing out that the stochastic RSI was, when it starts curling down like that and it breaks that 50 area, it just looked real similar to this area right over here where we got that, quick drop and then rebounded right off of it. So I'm playing it in my mind, at least, that I'm not thinking we're going to get like a huge move off this, but it could be just like a bounce off this area. If you wanted to play it that way, you could. So it's up to you. Just follow the trading plan like we talked about and play it that way. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm looking at, right? I don't see any. I don't see like this coming all the way down and coming down here. I don't see that. I really don't. It'd be very rare you get a reversal move like this. Huge move. You're going to get some correction. Okay, that's just normal. You're going to get correction. And in fact, it's probably even more healthy because. If you see something like this and then you see that and then it goes way up here or even higher, that's just the Bollinger Bands aren't going to let it do that. So let's let it consolidate in here. The Bollinger Bands come back inside, tighten up a little bit, and then probably by towards just eyeballing it. I don't know, probably maybe next week or somewhere around Thanksgiving-ish, something like that. We may see, maybe a bottom in this area somewhere and then start to go higher. If we don't, then obviously we're coming back to test this area. So what bulls want to see is this area right here, and at worst case, the 78.6 hold. And then just kind of chew higher. So that's been my whole thinking on that. Let me look at my Bitcoin futures. Let me pull that over real quick. And so today when it closed, just pulling this over real quick. All right, so we got let me get that cursor. Doggone it. Let me change that pointer real quick. Change it to something y'all can see. Let me get yellow on there. There we go. All right, so on the futures chart, we've got this big, long downtrend line, right? And sorry, forgive my cat. She's being bitchy. But tested, failed, failed, and then we get above it just a little bit, and then we're starting to curl back in a little bit. So on the futures chart, and the market's closed right now, obviously. Okay, it closes on Friday, so it's not going to reopen until Sunday night. But when we're looking at this. Obviously we filled the gap, which I don't know, that just looked funky to me, that whole wick down like that. That looked weird, right? So we could pull back in a little bit, let the, indicators burn off a little bit. We could just go sideways, or we could come all the way back down and test the 200-day moving average, right? And so that's why you need stops in place. Nothing's a given in this market, especially with crypto. And I'm just going off what I think is going to happen. So that doesn't always happen. But I think my track record has been decent at least. So what we're watching for, I guess what we hit, did we hit 8,500 today? Not on the futures, but on the spot. But anyway, this trend line right here has got to be broken and just totally, blown through. But the Bollinger Bands are suggesting that we're just going to hang in this area and then possibly break out. So just something to watch. I think it's going to be much about nothing here for the next week or so. Any questions? And that'll be enough on the futures. And then I'm going to switch my cursor back to black. I did put out a red alert on Link last night in the altcoin channel. Excuse me. And the reason I am is because of this. Okay, and this is what I love to see. We had Bollinger Bands tighten up back in here. Price consolidated. We had some ups and downs and ups and downs. But then it broke out, right? Pulled back in, retrace, went back and retested the upper Bollinger Band again. Got outside, couldn't hang on. Looked like it might want to break out, but couldn't. Now all the moving averages, and especially the 20-day moving average, is holding right here. Notice this? I mean, it wicked below, but then it came back and closed above. So look how tight the Bollinger Bands are right now. They are just extremely tight. So when you get something like that, I mean, sure, we could go sideways for a little bit, but this just remains on red alert because this thing could either, and this is just my view. I'm expecting it to break out to the upside. I mean, volume has been just meh lately, but I'm expecting this to break out. Now, what I want to see, right now you can see that the upper Bollinger Band right here is being resistance, and I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Okay, right there. See that? Had a big green candle here. I mean, you could see I'm sure like probably an hour ago or so, you could see a big green candle, but it hit the upper Bollinger Band. What I want to see is, and obviously it's holding the 10, but I want to see this just keep going the next couple of days and it could spike even higher, like on some news or whatnot. Worst case scenario is that it rejects off this upper Bollinger Band and then breaks the 20. So if you're wanting to play this, right, my suggestion, and this is not financial advice, but I mean, you could be long in this area and then have your stop loss, somewhere if it, like down where this wick is right here, maybe down around the lower because what can happen sometimes is you hit the upper Bollinger Band and then you ricochet off and you go lower, right? So that's the worry here on the long, if you're long. But anyway, I'm thinking that this is going to break out to the upside. When I see a move like this and then just consolidation, I just think it's going higher. Questions? And I'm going to give it just a minute because I know there's like a delay in here, so. Okay, and if you have questions, I'll come back to it if you need. Let's go look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. I was a little, this one I was actually wrong on. I really thought that it would hold right in this area and possibly just inch higher and go higher, but it's breaking down a little bit and it's coming back down to the 78.6. So this would coincide with my thinking maybe that the dominance chart hits 78.6 retracement and then takes off. But we'll see. If it breaks below the 78.6, then obviously Bitcoin's going lower as well. So let's keep an eye on that. Stochastic RSI is bearish right now. We'll see if it gets down here by tomorrow and see what it looks like after the close tomorrow. Let's go look at next one on the list. Let's go look at Litecoin. This resistance right here has just been a pain in the arse. And I pointed this out, is right up here. This 64.40 area, that is just a pain in the ass. I mean, right here and right here, double top. Bearish engulfing right there. Stochastic RSI is bearish as well. So this thing could pull back in a little bit lower. Bulls want to see the 20-day moving average hold, which it's done since it made this big reversal, right? So if you're wanting to add and play Litecoin, I don't know that I would play it at the, well, on this retracement, it did come down and hit the 61.8, and that would have been a good area to probably add some, which was 59 or 58 something, and then bounced off that. You could try to play that again, but bulls need to hold the 20-day moving average, period. Otherwise, you risk losing now the 61.8 retracement right over here, and then dropping down to the 78.6. And if that gets lost, then we're coming back down in here, which is 53. Okay. XRP. Again, I like this one for the longer term, but I didn't like it shorter term. And why? Because it just seemed like everybody and their dog loved it, right? And not only that, but you had resistance up here. You had the 200 and the 233 right above it as resistance, right up here. And the 127.2 retracement from that high to this, to that low, and then coming up here and hitting it again. Double top. This is just a major resistance zone. So that's why I said don't buy into resistance. If you're wanting to buy, you could look right now, or you could look at, it broke this fib cluster, which I haven't updated this chart, so I'm going to do it now. It did break this one. Let me get this out of here. Let me get that one out of there. That's the 61.8. Okay, so your next area, and not only that, but it broke the 10, the 20, and the 50. Your next area of support is going to be around 26.5, right? Unless this low right over here, which, this could be a more important low, but we'll see. Have a stop loss in there somewhere. Bearish stochastic RSI coming down. This thing could just come all the way back into the 61.8. So longer term, I think this thing's going to eventually probably break out, but it's not right now. It's just trying to get its momentum going, but there's people that are wanting to sell it because they got trapped, right? Let's look at this. A lot of people bought back up in here, and then they got trapped. And where are they selling at? Or are they averaging in? It's like, it's one of those things, and the Bollinger Bands suggest that this might go, we'll see. We'll see. It needs to hold this area, right? Otherwise it could get nasty. So that's XRP. And watch those candlesticks, guys. A lot of people don't pay enough attention to them, but I try to keep things simple with moving averages, Bollinger Bands, candlesticks. At least on these charts. On my futures, it's something different. But when you see a bearish engulfing like this, that's not good. And then it gets followed up by another one. And then you're starting to think, okay, well, this could turn into a 3 black crows, which is this big red stick, this big red stick, and it could turn into another big red stick. So we could be at 25 tomorrow. It's a possibility. Very possible. So let's just keep an eye on that. And if you're long, don't panic. Right? If you're, at some point, like I said, it's going to turn, right? You just have to be patient with it, but don't panic. And if you don't like it, then, you get out. There's other stuff to play out there. Let's go look at Ethereum. And same thing on Ethereum, right? Only this one's holding up better than XRP. We had a dark cloud cover candle pattern right here, which was resistance. You get a bearish engulfing over here, which is resistance. So what do? Okay, obviously right up here at the 61.8 is major resistance. That's 200, right? Big seller over here. They sold here and they sold here. People are selling here and they're selling here. They're buying down in here, which is 178. It's logical to assume that one would want to wait possibly until we hit this area before you want to buy, maybe even a little bit lower. Some people are more risky and want to think that, and here's the deal. Some people do this. They'll play the moving averages, right? Like the 10, the 20, and the 50 are all hooked right in here together. And so what's going to be the play? Are these moving averages going to start hooking down, or are they going to start hooking up? I can't tell you that. So it's time to just kind of be a little patient. XLM. This one here, actually, I got in. I actually had a little bit left over from a previous play, and I actually bought a little bit more back in here, I think, when it broke out. Not a lot, but just a little bit. And then wanted to add a little bit more back when it started pulling in. And so it's getting close to that time. Let's get some of these out of the way. There we go. Actually, yeah, that's not good. Oh, there it is. There we go. That's better. Okay, so back in this area probably is the time to maybe add a little bit XLM if you're wanting to try to play that play. Again, that bearish engulfing right up there just led to, going lower. That's close to a 3 black crows right there on the candle patterns. Typical retracement is back into here around close to, close to 8 cents. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe 0.0786, something like that. So getting closer to where you could, add some to your position and then wait for the next move. ZRX, another one I love. Above the 200, above the 233, all the EMAs, it's above, so that's bullish, right? The stochastic RSI didn't get into the oversold range, which is peculiar, which is not a bad thing, actually. So this could pull back into here, into the 40 range, or it could just pull back into oversold and retest all the moving, the bigger moving averages right here. Build a base and then go higher. And you see it's consolidating right below major resistance. So we know where major resistance is. This one, if you're wanting to play, I would say it's a buy down in the 26.5 range, maybe 26 cents. And then see if it can come back up and test 36 or 38. So that is ZRX. DGB is still working out well. It's just kind of consolidating, building the base. We haven't been stopped out yet. We bought back in this area. I think I put the buyout at, let me remember where I put that at. I'm going to have to look at my calls. Could have sworn I put that in there. Oh gosh, I got two different. Okay. I put the long out at 75 with a stop at below 73. So we're above 75 still. And the play here is to, if it gets a break above that 10 EMA, then we come up and start testing our targets at 85. I mean, it'll get some resistance here at 81, but the play is to think that it would come up and test in the 85 area. That'd be your first area to exit at, unless you wanted to take some at 81 or 82, depending on where you got in and how much you had, and then just play the trading plan. All right, so that's DGB. Does anybody have anything they want me to look at? Y'all have any chart requests? I know I've gone over the majors and some of the things I'm kind of looking at and whatnot, but do y'all have anything you want me to look at? Or do you want me to just keep babbling? I can babble really well. ETC, yeah, that's one of my favorites. And it's funny because when I was looking at this last night, I was like, okay, this little area right over here, which was support, which is now, it was support back here, right? Because it bounced so hard off of it. And when it lost it, it became resistance. Failed here, but then wicked just barely above it right there, right? Which I could still call in that, in that zone of resistance, right? Because if you look at candle closes, let's just go to a line chart, right? And what do we have? We could close right here. I mean, heck, we could even say 546 is resistance as well. I mean, that old support, new resistance area. So this area up in here is major resistance, right? And so if you're wanting to buy into this, I would give it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think it's had a nice run, right? It's had a decent run right in here, right? So people that got in at $4 took a nice dollar gain off that, and they're cashing out some profits. But what this is doing is it's just building a base, right? This is a bottoming area right here. So we've got a nasty bearish engulfing right here. And if I was to do retracements on it, okay, let's do this. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but I'm just looking at facts, right? And I'm a not a huge bull on it, but I'm a bull. I like this. It broke 38.2, so let's just leave that in there. So obviously you want to, again, like on all of these, and there's a pattern here, things are holding above the the 20-day moving average. And that's the area to watch, really, right? Because if it breaks that, then you start getting things pulling back down, and then we start the whole process over again. And it'll take a week or two to be able to turn that back around. So if it loses the 20-day moving average at 488, then you're going to look at 475, 468, and then probably, the area that I would, probably add some would be between the 61.8 and the 78.6. Mid fours, right? 430 to 450 ish, somewhere in there. If it does, I mean, there's no guarantees that that's going to happen, but I'm just looking at potential what could happen, right? And hanging out at resistance doesn't give one a warm, fuzzy feeling. But I like it. I like it longer term, you know. I think that's one of those, much like XRP. It's had a nice little run here. It's going to pull back in. Let's just do some higher lows in here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this over here was a lower low. This over here was a lower low. Now we had a high over here, but we've had a higher high. Okay, so let's do low, higher high, and now let's do a higher low. Let's get a pattern going here of higher lows and higher highs. See what I'm saying? Start the trend, the bullish trend. And it's not going to go straight up, right? So don't sit there and think, well, and I say that, right? But anything can get news and it can take off or whatever. But the whole thing is, let's get higher lows and higher highs. That's the key in this process. And it's not going to happen overnight, right? So I hope that makes sense. What's positive about this is that, you know, you got the 50 EMA, which has come down, which it had trouble with. Well, it had trouble with all three of these, but then it just started, you know, turned. Got the 10, the 20 going. Now you're getting up here around the 50, coming back, retesting this area. Let's see if it can get back above the 50 EMA and start to get this thing curling and going higher. You know, inch by inch by inch by inch, and just start a nice little bull trend. And again, forgive the sniffles. I am so sorry, guys. I can't shake this thing. What else do we got? Is there anything that's moving right now y'all want me to check? Or it seems like there was something that moved the other day and I can't remember who it was or what it was. Oh, it was XTZ. Hang on, let me look at that one. I think I saw somebody post about that one. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That's unbelievable. That's a heck of a move. What does this thing do? Todd, yeah, let me check NEO. Do you want the BTC pair or the USD version? You're welcome, Alex. My pleasure. If you have something else you want me to look at, bring it up. Got a little bit of time here. USD. All right, so let's switch over to my USDs. And I haven't looked at NEO in a little bit. It's been a minute. Oh, wow. Here we go. Okay, so there we go. Interesting. Okay. So I did this, I guess I did this chart maybe on the last live stream, maybe? I'm thinking. And it had what is, I think if memory serves, people were asking if this was 3 white soldiers. And technically it's not perfect, but it could count, right? You got a nice, and I'm talking huge reversal right back in here. Let me get rid of this green line. I don't know why I had that there. Let me get rid of that. Clear up some things. And then let me look at these retraces. Oh, yeah. There we go. And typically what happens with patterns like this, 3 white soldiers, is that they retrace 50% of that move. Okay? They typically do that. But I've seen them do it 61.8%, a fib level. So we had this area over here, which was resistance. And the thinking on this one is that let's see if this area right in here holds as support. Because if we zoom in just a little bit, and I'll make this bigger, see how it held as support right there? Bounced. Held as support, bounced. And now it's coming back and retesting it. The only difference this time is that we've got the 20 EMA coming up into this area. Okay? There's your 20 right there. And so it's coming up into this area. So let's see if NEO can hold that. But the Bollinger Bands are suggesting that the upper Bollinger Band, if it starts curling in, the lower one is coming up. So that's going to be nice support now. This area down in here, I think, is the bottom on NEO. Period. All right? This area back in here, that's bottom. And if that gets lost, then it's going to zero. But I don't see it. I just don't see that area getting tested for a long time. And I'm not going to say if ever, but I don't see it getting tested for quite a while. But this area up in here is strong support, right? And so even if it does wick below it, right? I don't know that I would necessarily panic. Because like I said, it could pull back into the 61.8 area, which is right around where the 50 EMA is. So if you're long this one, I would feel good. This is a, pretty bullish chart if you ask me. I just think you had this long downtrend. Let's go look at it, right? Let's zoom it out a little bit. But you had this, after the top, you had this bearish, just going down, and then all of a sudden, nice reversal. And we're holding this area right in here where the 200, 233 is. Still above this area. God, this could just go sideways for another month, or another couple of weeks before it wants to try to go out and break new highs. So I like it. NEO. But be prepared, like I said, just be prepared that it could come down into this area, But I would get more worried if it started losing that, right? I don't want to see it lose the 50 EMA right there. I don't want to see it lose that. I want to see it just hover in this area, let the Bollinger Bands get tight, hold the 50 EMA, and then break out to new highs. Yeah, my pleasure, Todd. You are welcome. Got to remember, guys, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? There's a lot of people out there that, and I'm sure like on XTZ, there was probably a lot of people that, they were probably holding that one forever and just thinking, at some point, and they just finally took off. So that's going to happen. And it'll happen with your coin eventually, right? Something might happen. It's not a given, but something might happen with it and you get news or whatever. But, most of those people are lucky, if you ask me. One thing I want to look at ONT. Yeah, these things they're all starting to look familiar, right? They're all coming back into areas of important support on the altcoins. 61.8, 50 EMA. These things are all just, I want to look at this one on. Hey, Mast, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you, sir. I'm doing great, except for this head cold. I can't shake this thing. It seems like I've had it for a month, if not longer. And I have no idea what's going on. If you guys don't hear from me for a few days, it means I probably died. Let's see. Let's go back to the BTC pairs, because I'm thinking that some of these, if BTC drops just a little bit or goes sideways, that some of these are going to start to recover, especially with dominance coming down. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at. It seemed like somebody asked me about BNB the other day. BNB. Keep an eye on that one. Keep a very close eye on BNB. Okay? If it can sustain a move above this 78.6 retracement, then the next logical area, and I put another fib in there, a longer term fib, 38.2. This thing could bust a little bit of a move, right? And it would be a nice percentage gainer. And the Bollinger Bands are pretty tight. The EMAs are starting to hook in the right direction now. All right, see this? Can't ignore this. You see them all bunched together like that and they start spreading out. That's when you start watching for something that is getting ready to bust a move. Thanks, Master. I appreciate it, man. My girlfriend actually is supposed to get me. She works for Papa Murphy's, and I guess they've got this person that is like a health specialist. You have to have one of those, I guess, when you run a pizza place or whatever. But anyway, she's got these supplements, and so I'm supposed to get some of those that might kick this thing. So we'll see. They're all natural and supposed to be really good, but we'll see. Anyway, BNB, just kind of keep an eye on that one, right? This is one of those that Bollinger Bands are getting tighter in this area, right? See how they spread out, and then all of a sudden now they're getting tight. This could go sideways for a little bit, but just keep an eye on it. That's one that should be on the watch list. That's BNB on the BTC pair. Keep an eye on that one. EOS. EOS. Yep, I've traded this one before. And EOS is trying to bust a move here a little bit. Trying to ride that upper Bollinger Band, had a bullish engulfing candle pattern right here, and it's holding above the 10 EMA. So let's go do some fib retracements on this one. I don't think, yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and do one from, yeah, we'll go back here. Let's go to the most recent one. Let's see what kind of retracements to the upside we got. There to there. Okay, so it's basically hitting the 127.2. So let's take those out. We'll throw in the 161.8. All right, so it's hitting resistance at the 127.2. If it breaks that, then it's coming up to test the 161.8. Which coincidentally is, and it's amazing how this crap works out. It really is. You can't make this stuff up, right? Right there. Lines up just perfect. So And if anybody wants me to go over that again, just for training lessons, I'm going to do it right now. Okay? I'm going to just take out what I did, and I'm going to just walk you through this. But this is what you have to do, right? To know where resistance or support is. So if you've got your EOS chart on the BTC pair out, okay, and you're looking at this chart and you're like, what's it going to do? What's it going to do? Okay, well, what you do is you go back, you go to your fib retracement, you go back to the old high, this wick high, right? And we were looking for retracements, right, to the upside. When we saw that it was busting out a little bit, that's when you start plugging in your fib retracements. So let's go fib retracement. Let me get that back on there. There we go. And then you draw it from that high to this low. Okay. And if you've got it set up to where all your, I'll just plug them all in there. If you've got all your fib retracements in, that's kind of what it looks like, right? It looks like a mess. And you're going, but at the same time, if you're looking at it from when it busted this move back in here, then you start doing this. And I'm going to get this out of the way so you can see, right? You clean it up. You clean this thing up. Once it starts breaking things, it broke the 23.6. It broke the 38.2. Hit the 50% retracement and came down, right? And I'm sure if we was looking at a shorter time frame chart, it probably hit some fib back in here. Went back and broke the 50. Pulled back in, came back up, broke the 61.8. Broke, and here's what I talk about on the 78.6 retracement. Once that 78.6 retracement, you can see where it wicked above it, and then it came back and retested the 10, 20, and 50 EMAs, and that was support now. It gets a nice green stick off of it, and so if you're playing it long and you were buying it off that, holding the 10, breaks the 78.6, take it out, and there's, now they're selling. All those people that bought back in here, right, on the retrace, they're all taking their money right up in here. 127.2. Okay? So if we think that this is a more important high, right, and we think it's going to pull back in and retrace, then what do? We do this. Fib retracement. This low to this high. Now we plug our numbers back in, and we're going to go see, there's the 23.6, 38.2, 50, 61.8, 78.6. And then you do that, right? So this area back in here where the 10 EMA is coming up to is this area right here, the 23.6. Right? It's up at the upper Bollinger Band. And this could ride it higher, right? I'm not saying it can't. It could ride it higher if it breaks the 127.2 and go up here. But then what do I look at over here? It's like I did just a minute ago. I'm like, okay, well, let me look to the left over here and let me throw in a horizontal ray, okay? And so I click on this area, I go to horizontal ray, and then I come over here to the top, and I got the magnet tool on, and I click on it. And what's it line up on? Does everybody see that? Does everybody understand what I did? It's not hard. It takes a few seconds to be able to just look at it, throw a line in there, throw the fibs on there, and so this area right up in here tells me that is going to be major resistance, right? And so some people that bought down in here are starting to sell their profits up in here just ahead of this major resistance. So You could catch a little bit of a sweet spot in here if it breaks the 127.2, but I would be selling part of my profits right up in this area right here. And then let it pull back a little bit and take it from there. Not only that, but your stochastic RSI is pretty high, right? And if I take off my magnet tool and I go to just for giggles and grins, trend line, and I could just draw something like this. Oops. Here we go. You can draw trend lines on indicators too, guys. It works on those as well. All right, so you had a nice bounce, held it, and now if it breaks below that, what do you think is going to happen? Price will probably start hooking down, or will have, because price will affect that right there. So you have to use a little bit of imagination or what you think might happen. This thing could just hold right here, go a little bit higher, and then break. So that's why I'm saying, I don't know that I would be buying this just yet. It's kind of risky buying something at resistance or very close to it. So if you're wanting to try to get, I don't know what the percentage is going to be off that, if it's worth the risk. But you could always wait until it pulls back into this area. Don't be buying at 3,900 when you can get it probably at 37.96 or possibly 36.97. That's just my opinion. Don't buy it just to buy it in FOMO and all that stuff. Let price come to you. You dictate what price you want to buy. You don't let others dictate it for you, or something FOMO and whatever, and you just think it's going to go to the moon. Be strategic. Be very disciplined, right? That's what you got to think about. It's your money. Treat it like a business. Don't let somebody else or even me, talk you into stuff like that. Don't. That's why I try not to. Oh man, excuse me. Okay, sorry, I was babbling. I went over this BTC below 200 day again. Well, yeah. I'll go back to it. Let me go back to BTC. Okay. And I pointed this out. So Mast, did you see my chart in the Discord channel last night? Not sure if you saw it. Anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, my thinking, was, and when I posted the chart, my thinking was that price was just kind of hovering around the 200-day moving average, which is this in blue. But I've got the 233-day moving average, a fib number, down here in red. And when I was looking at this, in my mind, I was sitting there thinking, okay, price is a little, it's holding this, but it just felt to me, and I just thought the 50% retracement, I've never trusted that, ever, as a bounce area. I just don't. It's just not one of those areas that I think is like a strong bounce area. To me, the 61.8 or the 78.6 has always been better areas, right? And so I was like, oh yeah, you need to get in my channel, bro, if you're not in there. Here, hang on one second. Crypto Potter, I'll get to BSV here in a minute. Let me do this for you, bro. All right, so there you go. That's my Discord channel. Okay. All you have to do is go to, discord.com, or, just look up Discord, and then, or click on that link. That's the invite link right there. So all you have to do is click on that link, and that'll get you into my channel. So anyway, going back to it though, my thought was that it would pull, the better buying area would be down in here. I thought it would pull back down, and sure enough, we got it today, right? So, just right here around the 233-day moving average and the 61.8 retracement. And so, what I was telling people is that if you're wanting to buy it, right, you got to be a little careful here, right? Okay, things are always kind of iffy. But you got to be a little bit careful, because if you're wanting to play a scalp or whatever, you just have to realize that if it breaks 80, I'm going to call it 8,500, right? If it breaks this little area right in here, then we're coming down to the 78.6. Period. End of story. We're coming down here, and more than likely testing that lower Bollinger Band, right? And that lower Bollinger Band keeps getting higher every day. But these Bollinger Bands are trying to pull back in, it's just a wide range, right? So this thing is just, I think it just goes sideways for a while before it wants to break out. And obviously we got major resistance up in here. But we've also got major support down here. So we're in a trading zone, right? Trading zone. That's why I'm like yellow alert. There is no red alert right now. There's no imminent, to me at least, imminent breakout or anything like that. We're on yellow alert. We're watching for, spikes down, possible spike up, but then not sustaining it. It's just, we're in a sideways pattern. It's a yellow alert. If I say red alert, you can start paying attention. All right, so that's Bitcoin. Did that answer your question? All right, let's go to BSV USD. Let's see here. It's not. Okay, so let's do this. It's had a nice run, right? This has been a really nice run on this. Let's do some retracements. Let's go here to here. And let's go to the settings. And we've already seen that it broke one fib retracement, which is the 23.6. So we take it out. All right. So price is holding the 38.2 retracement. It's also holding the 233-day moving average. It's holding the 20-day moving average. And it's above the 50-day moving average, right? What we had up here is we had a reversal pattern, okay? You see this doji candle, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see it. You probably can't see it real good. I'm going to zoom in. This is a zoomed in view on the daily chart, okay? So you had, obviously, when price got outside the Bollinger Band, right? Here's your Bollinger Band, all right? When price gets outside of it, it has nowhere to go but back inside, right? I think I've gone over this time and time again. but it pulls back inside, consolidates, wants to try to go higher, but it can't. And then you get this little doji right here, which is, oh crap, it didn't go higher. That's indecision. And then you get people selling off. Okay, well, it didn't go higher. I'm selling out. I'm getting out. Now you get the people like this big green stick guy back here that's going, okay, then you guys are selling out. I'm going to start buying into you. Give me what you got, right? That's kind of the way I'm thinking about it. He could also still have orders back down in here. Again, you know my thoughts on the 50% retracement, but I'm not. But the 38.2, it's holding, and that is very bullish if it can stay above that. If it holds this and gets back above the 200-day moving average, then this could get really, really good for bulls. Just saying. And you've got stochastic RSI on the daily getting closer into oversold, right? Oversold. Not saying that it can't go sideways and stay that way for a while, but all these moving averages, I mean, look at this. All these moving averages are bunched together, right? Right there. They're all bunched together. So what bulls would want to see is just hold the 38.2, and if it breaks above, back above, like I said, back above the 200-day moving average, then it's going to take out that doji, and those guys are screwed. The guys that sold, they're going to be FOMOing back into it because I'll guarantee you they're watching it, right? They sold it and they're like, okay, what's it doing? What's it doing? Blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it breaks that and they're going to FOMO back into it. And you start getting back up in here and testing that, going higher. But until it, I guess I could do this. Hang on. I hate doing this because it hasn't really formed a real low yet. But let's go. Let's just assume, okay, and I hate assuming. Let's just say high to low, right? All right. And so there's the 38.2. If that's a real important high, which it is, and let's assume that this is an important low right here, then above the 38.2 is what you want to get past, right? Which is right there where the 200 is. If it breaks that, then you're coming up here to test the 61.8, which is right in this area, and then the 78.6, which is those wicks, and then if that breaks, 127.2 to all-time or new highs. So does that make sense? Hopefully it does. I mean, I actually kind of like this one, to be honest with you. I won't like it if it breaks below that 50 EMA. I won't like that very much. Because if it does, you know me, and I don't like that 50% retracement. Of course, it could bounce there. I'd leave it on there. You never know. But I just think it could break lower if it breaks that area right in there. Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. But to me, it just seems like, and I'm not an Elliott wave guy. I don't even see anything. That could be, that could be an ABC. Let's do this. I'm not an Elliott wave guy, but I know enough just to be a little bit dangerous. Corrective wave. Let's just do this and see what the hell happens. A, B, oops, shit, oops. Did I screw that? I screwed that up. Let me get that out of there. I was thinking A, B, C. Let me try something else. Let's do this. And this is always something I like to do too. Trend-based fib extension. You could go that high to this low back to this high. Now, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Let me change that setting so you can see it. Let's go ahead and change it to... Let's just change it to blue. There we go. That way you can see it. So equal moves, right, is what you look for, right? So this high to this low, okay? And then you swing it back to this high. So you're looking like this area, this high to this low, that's a certain, percentage or a certain number of sats. And then you're wanting to see if this matches that. So this area down in here where the blue is where if it's going to make an identical move to this, then if that's a top, does it come down here? That's interesting how it lines up on the 50% retracement. That's rather peculiar. And the lower Bollinger Band's coming up, so yeah. So you could take a long here, but I would, I don't know that I would go all in. I'm just putting it that way. If you wanted to ladder into your position and just go maybe, I think I'll buy 10% of it here, just in case it goes higher. And then I'll buy the bigger portion down in here if it gets lower. And I'm hoping I'm not confusing you on that. Sometimes it's better to ladder your positions in, because you could go, this is bullish chart. I love it. In your mind, you're going, oh, this is bullish. I like it. It looks good for the longer term. And I think it's going higher. It just needs to retrace. Then you're going, okay, I'll buy a little bit here just because it's the 38.2 retracement. I'll buy just a little bit just in case that's the low, right? Because it could be. We don't know that. We can't predict it. But just in case, what if, like I pointed out, what if this move and that move are identical? Then that brings price down into here. And so I could buy a little bit here, and then I could buy a little bit more here, and then I'm loaded up and ready to go. And then it goes higher. I mean, that's just how you have to do it on some of these charts. You have to put all the pieces together, and it's not really hard. You just sometimes, and it'll take a while for new traders, but you'll see things in your mind over time. You'll go, you know what? That looks familiar. That looks like it could go down, and then that move could look like this move. So that's where you have to just use your fibs, use your old support, new resistance. Sometimes you have to and when things line up almost perfect on top of each other, that's when it really opens my eyes. I'm sitting there going, okay, well, and it may never hit, right? It may never hit there, but it just opens my eyes as like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, we'll see. That's interesting, and yeah, I think that one could be pretty bullish over the and the way things I'm looking at on these charts. I mean, I always thought that this time of year was going to be really, really good for alts, and I still think they are. I mean, I know they've had a nice move, but I think there's bigger things coming. I really do. I think that, the holiday season is just going to be, I think it's going to be really good. I really do. I think it's going to be really good for alts. Now, that being said, by the time Christmas rolls around, and probably just after the first of the year, I think I would start thinking then we'll start looking for tops on these things. I could be wrong. I mean, we might be just going full bull, like if the Bitcoin halving thing happens next year. So who knows where that takes us. Anyway, that's BSV. What's some other things that's out there? People are really, let's see, ADA. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to say this real quick, okay? I think ADA, and I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to clear out all that. Okay, here's, if people are really in love with Cardano, then here's what you need to watch, right? This look at this. For probably 1, 2, 3 months now, it's in this consolidation zone right in here. So what's going on with that? And I don't know anything about this as far as their, what they're doing, what their announcements are, what their plans are. I have no clue. But somebody is just really interested right in here. Okay? And it keeps making, there's a low, there's a higher low. It made a higher low here, but then it made a lower low here. But overall, it's just kind of a choppy mess and a ranging, trying to bottom out situation while it's waiting on this, the 200 and the 233-day moving averages to come down, right? So let's, ADA is always going to be on the watch list, but when I start seeing the 200-day moving average start getting closer down to price and everything's kind of holding up right in here, that gets the alert going up, right? It's like, we better start paying attention to this because the Bollinger Bands are very tight, right? And this thing could just, it could drop off a cliff, right? It could just drop off a cliff, or it could just come up and test the 200-day moving average. And if it does, it's going to be a really nice move. And there are so many followers of this thing that it could create FOMO. So this is one of those that, I wouldn't be afraid to throw a little bit at, you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit, just to be in, right? I'm not saying a lot, but just enough to be in. And depending on your capital situation, it could be, it could be like a lobster dinner, or it could be, getting a Ferrari. So, anyway, we need to be keeping a close eye on this one, right? That whole area right in there, that's just chop zone. It's support. It's building a base to launch off, But then again, it could be building a base just to drop off a cliff. I don't think that's going to happen because it's tried it, that could be just the ultimate low on Cardano. Really could. And if I was to zoom this out, this thing's been around for a while. Oh, look at this. There you go. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and throw in horizontal array. Let's throw that. There we go. Okay, so this low down here is like almost the all-time low. So worst case scenario, you're looking at 250s. And I say worst case scenario, it could drop lower, but And that's only if it loses this low, right? If it loses that low, then it's coming down in here. But if this is base building and we're letting these EMAs, the 200 and the 233, work their way back in, then what do you think is going to happen? Price is going to try to come up and test the 200-day moving average. This just reeks of people just keep, all these people that were buying up in here, and they sold out, and now price goes down, they get impatient. It's doing nothing. It's been 3 months. It's doing nothing. I'm getting out. I'm selling. Well, 200-day moving average is coming down, but whoever they're selling to is buying right in this area. We've seen it time and time again. Somebody is buying down in here. And when it rebounds, it's going to FOMO, and then that's when they're going to sell into those people because they're going to FOMO back into it. The people that were buying back in here are going to sell up in here. That's just how it works. And so you may get stuck in this for, like back in here. People that bought the bottom right here, they had a nice, recovery. And if you was doing the trading plan thing, you could have got into that, sold out, got your investment out, held a little bit, rinse, repeat, and then now you've got a position. And so you don't care what the hell it does. Or you could just buy some more and rinse, repeat again. But anyway, that is on, in fact, I'm going to move that up my list on the watch list. Let's, that actually goes, I'll put it right up there. I want to be able to see that right at the top. That goes on major watch list for me. All right, guys, anything else? Any other chart requests? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to give you like 10 seconds. I got to use the restroom real quick. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I'm back. Anything you guys want me to look at, or do you want me to go over any kind of training stuff? Fibonacci, old support, new resistance. I mean, I'll start with a blank chart and go over some stuff if you want me to. Moving averages. And by the way, guys, like I've always said, there is no such thing as a stupid question. So don't be embarrassed to ask. All right, so that's ADA. I'm just going to babble on just a little bit, and unless somebody comes up with some questions or whatnot. Dog coin. Oh wow. So after I told everybody to get out up in here, had a nice retracement, and it's starting to try to bounce again. I don't know. Dog coin is always one of those that just, you never know, man. It's like, if you can get it like lower areas, it's one of those that if you still have some in the piggy bank, it could just take off. But right here, I'm a little... I don't know. That one could be... We'll see. That one could be in play at some point. Really, there's not a particular time frame. You could look at a bigger chart. Like if you took like a daily chart of something and you pinched it in to where you could see it all the way back, like 6-7 months. There is something that excuse me, a bull flag could man, I'm so sorry, guys. It could stay that way for months. Test the upper part, test the lower part, and you just get those big huge swings, but it stays in a pattern, right? And I think I had that on, or at least I thought I did. At one point I thought I had Bitcoin, like, and maybe it still is. Let's see. I had, let me get like I wish I could do like a blank chart. It just keeps saving. Every time I pull it up, let's do this. Hang on. Maybe if I go to, okay, there we go. And let's say that, let's go Ray. And so if you're drawing it from, you could do something like this, right? Okay, there's that. And then you have to just kind of see how it lines up. And then you draw it from here. Yeah, this actually almost looks like a wedge, to be honest with you. Right? That could just be one big wedge. Right? Or it could be, some people call it a bull flag. It's not perfect. It just depends on where you draw your lines at. But there's no time frame, right? Because this goes all the way back to June. And here we are in November. This thing could play out all the way into the end of the year. Right? There is no certains, in the market. This could, just be hitting the top here, and then we come back down in here and then take off. Right? There's no givens in this market. Nobody knows exactly. I mean, if they did, then why would they be coming on Twitter? Why would they, why would they even waste time with anybody else if they knew 100% what was going to happen? If I knew that, I wouldn't be in here. I'd be on an island. And I'm just being honest. I would. I'd have a margarita in my hand. I'd be on a boat. I'd be on a yacht. I wouldn't be on the internet. And that's just how the market works, right? Because anyway, I'm getting off subject. Anyway, answer your question though. There is no time frame. It just depends on what time frame you're looking at. Are you looking at a daily chart? Are you looking at a 4-hour chart? Patterns work on all time frame charts. You just have to determine, what are you trading? Are you trading based on a 1-hour chart? Are you trading on a 2-hour chart? 5-minute chart? Because you can draw flags, bull flags, you can draw bear flags all day long, but it depends on your trading style. Okay? You have to determine what kind of trader are you before you start looking at how long it takes before. It's kind of a weird question, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to confuse you, but that's what you have to look at. Are you a hodler? Are you long term? Are you short term? Swing trader? It just depends. Well, true that, Mast. Yeah, on Twitter, nobody loses money. It happens. I'm just telling you. I mean, I've gone over my stories. And if you haven't heard, I can definitely go over them again. I went through my ups and downs when I started trading, and there was a lot more downs than there were ups. I can tell you that. And just real quick, I'll just tell you guys this story real quick. And not that anybody's listening, but when I got into the market, this was back in 97, late 1997, I think. And I wasn't trading, but I had just quit my job. I went over to my mom's house and was telling her about it. And in the next days that followed, I started looking at her. She wanted me to look at her stocks. That she had a mutual fund, and so I started looking at. It was through Dean Witter, and I was looking at it, and I was like, this is a bull market. Why are you not making money? I kept looking at statements, and her dollar amount never changed. And the more I delved into it, I just saw where these brokers were trading stuff. That's all they were doing, was getting her in something, getting her out of something. But they were making money off the commissions. And so I said, you need to get your money out of this. We can do something better. And I got into something. It was some oil company. It was Rentec or whatever. And that was one of the first ones where I fell in love with it. I mean, I went on to a channel. I met up with some people, and we got to be friends, and yada yada. Long story short, the thing never ended up doing anything. We kept thinking it was going to go from $3 to $20. It never did, and just went sideways for like a year and a half or whatever. Ended up losing some money on some other stuff, and then I think I was down to like my last $3,000 or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm down to my last $3,000. If I lose this, I got to go get a job, back in the job market. And so I went into a chat room. It was called MIRC back then, and I think it's still around actually. But I went to a penny trader stock channel, and I started watching these guys, and I just sat there and watched for about a week or two, and I started to see who the main guys were, and I just reached out to one of them, one of the kingpins, and I just said, dude, what do you think? I mean, I have no clue. And anyway, he was nice enough, and he said, hey, you put all your money in this, and I did, and I just said, screw it. I was like, this is it, and it was, the bell rang at the end of the day at 3:00, and I was in some penny stock at, I think it was like 25 cents or something like that. And I woke up the next morning and the damn thing gapped up to 50 cents. So I doubled my money. I sold immediately, and ended up turning that 3,000 into like $150,000 in 3 months, just compounding it, you know. And so that was kind of the start. And then I met the most important person in my life. His name was Ralph, but we called him Stocks. And he's the one that taught me about Fibonacci and all that stuff. And that was my teacher. That was the guy that really taught me everything. And even though I was stubborn and hard-headed back then, and he knew everything, and I thought I knew everything, I kept telling him stuff that I thought was going to happen, and he would tell me, no, you're wrong. And I'd be like, no, I'm not. And sure enough, I'd be wrong. And so I reflected back on it, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that crap again. So anyway, long story, just one of those things where ended up making a lot of money and then lost a lot of money. So it can happen. Just when you think you're $100 and some odd $1,000, and it just, I went and bought stuff, of course, but I ended up losing probably $50,000 or $60,000 of it just being stupid. And not being disciplined, you know what I'm saying? I was impatient. I was always one of those that would look at a chart and I would see a candle, right? I was always one of those. I loved the candles, and I would see a big green candle and I'd be like, oh man, this thing's taking off. I got to get into it. And then all of a sudden the thing turned, and then I would panic and I got out and I would end up losing money. So it never occurred to me that I could always buy something at a key support level or sell it at an important resistance level. I just didn't understand that back then. I was just being stupid. So anyway, sorry about that. I babbled a little bit, but I just love telling that story because if it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. And I'm sure it has. All right. So enough of my babbling. Let's go. You know what? I haven't looked at... let's go look at a weekly chart real quick. I haven't looked at the weekly because I've been busy with my new job and stuff. I could, on the weekly chart, you could actually tighten that. I could tighten that up a little bit. Yeah, this just looks like... Yeah, let me zoom it in a little bit. There we go. It's amazing when you go back and look at something on a longer term view. It's like we had this nice bottom right here, bouncing off the 200, 233, turns, makes this big move up outside the Bollinger Bands. And it's kind of like what we're seeing, right now on the shorter term charts, right? How many times have we seen it go up, get outside Bollinger Bands, and that's when you sell, right? FOMO. Pulls back in and it's correcting. This is corrective move. I mean, this is not like a massive dump, to me, at least. And maybe this just dribbles down lower. It very well could. But to me, back in here was a pretty important low. I mean, this area right here, 7,200, is huge. Okay? And that's the area that I said I do not want to lose. I do not want to lose this area. And I think it's pretty obvious, right? Because if that area is lost, then what's going to happen with price? Price is going to just crater all the way down, to the 78.6, and that's 5,400. Right? We've got this Fibonacci retracement right here at 61.8, and that's where it bounced. If it loses that, it's going to crater. I'm just telling you guys, it's going to crater all the way down to 50, well, let's call it 5,400, 5,500, somewhere in there. So you've got to be prepared for that. I mean, I'm not thinking it will. I'm thinking it probably just consolidates in this area and then takes off. But I don't know that for certain. I'm not a magician. I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just going off what I'm looking at. And that's a wedge type pattern. And if it can break out to the upside, then it's off to the races. All right, guys, I'm going to give it a I'll give it a 5-minute call. 5-minute call. So if you got any chart requests, put them in the channel. I'll take a look at it. If not, we'll get back on this on I'm not going to be around tomorrow. Tomorrow's football day. So I'm going to be over to Buddy's house most of the day. So and I may pop in like on the app or whatever. But Sunday is when we'll get back after it. Okay, any questions? Wolverine fan. One of my best friends is a Wolverine fan. They're starting to get better. They're they had a rough start, but they had a new offense, and so it takes a little time to get that thing going. You know what I'm saying? Go Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. Boomer Sooner, guys. Boomer Sooner. Root for the Sooners. All right, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes here. Yeah, tomorrow's a huge day for football. LSU, Alabama. Yeah, it's going to be a big day tomorrow. We're finally getting into that time of year where it's just fun to watch. It really is. It's just fun to watch. LSU, yeah, I agree. I want LSU to win. I want Alabama out of there. I am so tired of seeing them in the Final Four. It just makes me sick. And I think Saban's getting closer to the end, if you ask me. I think he's probably about another 2 years. 2 years he'll probably retire, I think. And then they are screwed. They are screwed. Because him and his cheating ass are out of there. Yeah, LSU. Oh, man, they're so talented. Man, good team. Really good team. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night. Give my best friend a call. He tried to call me just a minute ago, so I'm going to give him a call back. Guys, I appreciate you coming in the channel. And, like I said, give a thumbs up or something. Help a brother out. And we'll see you in the channel, in the Discord channel, or I'll catch you back on a live stream. We'll probably do another live stream Sunday. How's that? So we'll do one then. But y'all have a good evening. I sure appreciate it. And Boomer Sooner. Thanks, guys.